Hello everyone, welcome back to High Five Garage. We got some upgrades going on for my 83 Corolla wagon, Sr20. Currently she is down. I did break something in the Sr20 trans. Fifth in gear is no longer working. Pretty sure I either broke the actual lever or just the pin. With the sequential, I think it just kind of, shoved in there a little bit too much. But today we are going to start looking at the upgrade for the wagon. I've had this eBay TO4E on here for almost 10 years and it's been great. Honestly, couldn't ask much more for 160 bucks. But it's starting to smoke and I don't know, I think oil's getting through it as well. I think it's starting to burn, so it's time for an upgrade. First, we got a VSR 5449 G3. Yep, 5449 G3 billet wheel ball bearing. It is a full V-band, oil cooled and water cooled. With that, we've got all the fittings, the return, the 6AN for the waters, gaskets and bolts for the return, and then feed fittings depending on what PSI your motor runs. Also had to order the outlet for the exhaust manifold and the flange for the downpipe. The main thing I want to see with this is with the big old TO4E that I have on the car, it takes a second to spool. It's a journal bearing and it doesn't have a billet wheel. So going to this VSR 5449, it is actually pretty spec'd out close to a G25 660 from everything that I got from it, all the research I did. Pretty dang close. So I'm gonna have better spool time and just a lot better fitment. It's a lot smaller of a frame turbo, and I mean, what else? I do have to run water lines and stuff like that, which I already have, and I can actually reposition all the rest of my intake piping and stuff. So that'll be a really nice kind of upgrade from the typical, it has to sit here, this is where it has to go. Currently the wagon is on a cast manifold from eBay. You can get them for like $40–50, like this one. And I can't complain. Honestly, they work, they don't break, they do seal everything. Threads end up getting messed up over time. You're also using a T3 flange, which has a gasket, everything, they blow out all the time. Same thing with the 38mm on the bottom. So this is the plan, because I can't afford an Artec, just gonna kind of make one. I've got the flange from Mazworks. This works on a DET and a VET. Hello, turbo. How's it going? I got a new gasket. I am going to be running a typical 2-bolt style wastegate flange for now until I get a V-band. But this works, so bam, new gaskets for that, new flange. Bought all this Schedule 10 stainless 1.5 inch from Ace Race Parts, as well as a collector with a V-band on top and a straight piece. So I'm going to be piecing together a manifold, and mainly I want to get to a V-band style and get away from all the gaskets and T3 stuff. And I'm hoping for a different sound. The cast manifold, log manifolds really give off like a really particular sound, but having a tubular manifold gives it more. So let's pull the car outside. I'll give it a start, maybe a drive-by, and then we'll compare it once everything's done. first things that has to get done is this merge with a V-band. It's just a universal 4-to-1 merge. I'm pretty sure, you know, for something maybe LS related, or who knows, maybe just a 4-cylinder. But this V-band is not the correct one for the turbo. You have to order it with the turbo. So this will need to replace this one. So this one will get cut off, and that one will get welded onto it. Pretty sure they're roughly about the same size. So that'll be one of the first steps, besides taking everything off of the wagon, which is just unbolting stuff. So this will get cut off, welded on, and then we can start kind of making the manifold. Now that I cut the old flange off of it, it's nice and clean. I did bevel it a little bit just to get better penetration. Same with this flange. I had to take off a little bit just so it fits up better. And bam, just need to weld it. Alright, got it all tacked up. I will finish welding this once everything is done. I'll back purge it, but just getting it welded in place, that's a good starting point, so at least I can have the turbo sit on there while I'm making the manifold. Alright, now that we got that piece tacked up and we got the sound clip from the old turbo kit, we can get on to taking it off. Another thing I'm going to be taking off is catch can, water jug. Going to be relocating those a few places, but it'll be, you know, turbo, intake, the actual manifold itself, taking off the downpipe and just kind of setting it to the side for later activities. Another thing I'm going to do is prop underneath the car where the exhaust is, so that the exhaust is in the exact same position it currently is and it doesn't like fall down or move. And then from there I can start building the downpipe for the new turbo. Alright, already making some progress. Got the intake off the turbo off, got my catch can off, released the bottom intercooler pipe, disconnected the wastegate from the recirc pipe, and disconnected the actual downpipe. Now on to the 4-bolt T3. Also the oil is disconnected. I need to do the drain, and then on to taking the manifold off. I'll show you one of many reasons why I'm switching over to a V-band turbo instead of a T3, T4, anything like that. And it's because T3s normally will end up blowing out a gasket at some point, or a bolt comes loose, or this or that. So I actually made little holders. You bend them up and it actually holds the bolt in place on every single bolt on this car, so that, or on, at least on the turbo setup, so that nothing would come loose. Well, finally it actually worked, because you can see none of that is blown out. But still, it's time for an upgrade. Quite a bit of play, but old eBay has done me well. Now all we got to do is take off all the bolts holding on the cast manifold, vacuum line on the wastegate, and then we are good to start test fitting stuff. The exhaust manifold, turbo manifold is off. There she is. Also, a reason for making a nice tubular is these two nuts right here. Pain in the butt. So I can't wait to not have to deal with that. But there she is. all bare. Time to make a manifold. Goodbye, old log style, even though you did serve me well. And it looks like it surprisingly was sealed. Maybe a little bit right there, but not bad. So I cleaned the surface off, got all the RTV gunk out of there. Had to put another stud in, or put the stud back in because it came out with the nut. Just also wanted to say this car is switched over to ARP studs for the exhaust manifold. The OEM Nissan ones they end up breaking. So this does have ARP studs and bolts on it. So helps out a lot. I highly recommend it. Next thing is to put the flange on, get the turbo, kind of figure out where to position it, and then start making actual braces to place the V-band and merge away from the flange so that I know where to start combining pipes. So unlike the other turbo that was pretty much straight with the motor, this one I want to kind of cock it a little bit, you know, angle it. I think that it looks a lot better that way, and also kind of frees up room towards the block. This is a much smaller frame turbo than the one I was using, so we're gonna have a lot more room. This merge collector that I just needs to sit almost even with the actual flange and then towards the second runner. And that's roughly where it's going to sit. So I am going to be using a old cast manifold. It's kind of like I'll say heat sink, but normally you do that with aluminum. But it'll hopefully keep this flange from warping. I'll do all the bolts in it and stuff. But this will work for trying to mount this. So, you know, it's going to be somewhere in the lines of here, I'm assuming. I'm just going to tack it up with a piece of rod, and then I will see how happy I am with it. So let's do that. All right, here's the bars tacked up. Of course, those will get removed later on, but I'm thinking this is roughly where I want the turbo. So now I need to go and place it on there and see how it fits.